it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a new ColourPop release that has people absolutely losing their minds online. This is their latest collaboration with Disney. This palette is called The Child, and it's in collaboration with the Mandalorian of the Star Wars franchise. This is so stinking cute. As soon as ColourPop announced this palette, basically beauty Instagram just completely lost their minds, understandably. I mean, this is a really cute collaboration. There's a huge Star Wars fandom. Makeup collections that are geared towards fandoms are usually really wildly popular, really well received, and I do think that if this is something you are planning on trying to get your hands on, which by the way, this launches on the ColourPop website on Thursday, October 29th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, so make sure you check your time zones. I think that if the Hocus Pocus launch is any indication, I have no doubt that this is going to sell out really quickly. We did see a website crash with the Hocus Pocus launch, and hopefully they've prepared for this. I think everybody's well aware that there's going to be a really high demand for this palette. I have no idea how well stocked this is, if they're going to restock it, if they're going to make this available through other retailers. Ulta often gets the Disney collaborations, and with the Disney designer collections, we did see some of those palettes selling via Disney's website as well. I honestly have no details about restocks and availability and things like that, but I do think that it would be wise, if you're interested in this, to really prepare yourself for that kind of demand on the ColourPop site. Full disclosure, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I don't have anything against it. It just has never really been my type of thing. I've never seen The Mandalorian. My expertise here really lies in the palette side of things, not so much the Star Wars references. So don't come for me. We all like our own things. I don't have anything against Star Wars. If you're a Star Wars fan, more power to you. It's just not my thing. I think that's okay. So let's talk about the palette. They haven't officially released the prices yet, based on the fact that their cardboard palettes without mirrors are typically priced at $14. I'm gonna guess this one will be around the $16 mark. I do expect that we're gonna see a little bit of a price hike because of the mirror and just the fact that this is a Disney collaboration. This does have a magnetic closure, and it is sort of a soft touch cardboard. Some of the details on the front here do have a bit of texture. I always like that detail when there's some raised or stamped or textures. I always think that's nice. And look how cute this is. I love it. Then on the back, we have all the shade names listed here, and there are no eye safety warnings. I'm always happy when I'm able to report that to you. There's no glitters and there's no pigment warnings with this The Child palette. Now, when we open up inside, like I said, there is a mirror in here, and look at this little detail here by the mirror. It says cutest in the galaxy. I love that. And then we have all 9 shades laid out in a square with the shade names printed inside next to the pans. I did try to do a little matching nail moment here for you with my favorite shade in the palette, this one called The Force. We do have a variety of finishes in here. There are 4 true matte shades, 1 matte with a bunch of silver micro glitters, 2 just regular old-fashioned metallic pressed shimmers, and then we have 2 shades here. I know that this one's a Super Shock shadow. This one kind of feels like a cross between a Super Shock and a regular shadow. It does feel a little bit more bouncy than the regular shimmers, but it's not quite as slippy with that really creamy dimethicone type feeling like the Super Shock has. And it's not flaky and really foily like their foiled shadow, so I don't really know what finish this is. Maybe it is just a Super Shock. The different finishes aren't labeled on here, and ColourPop hasn't published their swatch video or anything yet at the time I'm filming this, so I don't know for sure. It kind of feels like a Super Shock shadow, but it's just not quite as slippy and bouncy as this one that I know for sure is a Super Shock, so time will tell. Sorry, there's no definitive answer, but that's the best description I can give you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the swatches of this palette now. Like always, I'll be showing you both finger and brush swatches of all 9 shades. The swatches are done on the inside of my arm with no primer down first, just the shadow straight onto my skin. The finger swatches will be pictured on top, and then each brush swatch will be directly below. The brush swatches will be done with my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush, and I'll clean the brush off in between each shade using my Viramono color switch. That way there's no shadow transfer between swatches. So let's take a look at this Mandalorian The Child palette now. And just a reminder that the finger swatches are on top, brush swatches are below. And I think the brush swatches actually look better than the finger swatches for this palette. These are just dry brush swatches, and look at those shimmers. Everything is just really bright and really opaque. Overall, I'm impressed with the performance and the variety of shades in this palette. I do have a few ColourPop palette comparisons that I'm going to show you. First, I want to do a quick little eyeshadow tutorial using this palette. I'll show you how I got this look that I'm wearing in today's video, and then I'll show you the comparisons and sort of wrap up all my thoughts at the end. I'm starting off by priming my eyes just like I always do, first with my favorite eye base, the MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly. Then I use just a tiny bit of setting powder so that I have a really smooth surface to blend on top of. I'm going in first with this medium tan shade called Just Like a Tatooine and building that into my crease area. This layered and blended really nicely, and I think this is the perfect transition shade for me to have in this palette. Next, I'm going in with this deep olive green matte shade called Float Your Crib. I'm using a small fluffy brush to build that up on the outer part of my lid, and also blending up into the crease as well so that I can keep some of that smokiness in the transition area. This doesn't have to be perfect because it is just a first layer. And I went back in with my original crease shade and added just a little bit of that to the lower lash line, and then the deepening matte shade on a pencil brush to bring some of that smokiness to the lower lash line as well. Next, I'm using this shade called Little Frog, and I'm tapping that on with my finger. This is a good way to keep the glitter on the lid if you want more sparkle from the glitter mattes. And next, I'm using my finger again, this time with the shade The Force, and I'm going over all of the shades. This is a great topper just to bring some more sparkle, and I did go back and deepen up the outer part of the lid a little bit for some more drama. Just did a quick blend with no additional product. Then I went in with the shade Precious Cargo. I put that on my inner corner, and I also put just a little bit on my brow bone, curled my lashes, and added my Huda Beauty Legit Lashes Mascara. And that's my finished look. This was really easy to accomplish, and I'm somebody who's often intimidated by greens, but this look came together really easily for me, and I think all of these shades played well together in this green eye look. All right, you made it through all the info, the tutorial. Now it's time for everybody's favorite part. At least it's my favorite part. I don't know. Is it your favorite part? We're gonna do some palette comparisons. I tried to choose the palettes that I thought would be the most helpful and the ones that you would most want to see this palette compared to. There's no way I can possibly anticipate every comparison you would want to see. That's why I do take requests for swatch comparisons over on my Instagram page. I do them every couple of weeks, so make sure you keep an eye on Makeup.Just.For.Fun on Instagram, and I will try to do some swatch comparisons soon. We've got a lot going on. There's a lot of videos that need to be filmed, a lot of photos that need to be taken, so I'm doing my best. I know I haven't done a comparison in a while, but keep an eye on my Instagram and we will do some more swatch comparisons soon. For now, here are a few palette comparisons with this Mandalorian The Child palette. Then I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end. First up is the Mint to Be palette. This is one of their big popular green palettes, and I think you can see here we maybe have one or two shades that are kind of similar, but overall Mint to Be is lighter, brighter, more blue toned, Definitely a lot more pastel and doesn't have that swampy green type of vibe. Next is the other big popular green palette from ColourPop. This one's called Just My Luck. And again, maybe one or two shades kind of similar here, but overall, the color scheme, the vibe is very different. Just My Luck has a lot more variety of greens, and in general, Just My Luck has a few more deeper options as well. Next, we're looking at a palette from their tie-dye collection. This one's called Aura and Out. I don't think this is similar at all, but I just had a feeling that this was a comparison that a few people would ask for. And since the outer packaging is green, I think it kind of tricks us into thinking that it's more of a green palette than it actually is. But anyway, just for our information, here it is. Next is the She's Got Solstice palette. This was part of their little Celestial collection with Ulta. And this one actually has those first three shades that are pretty similar. I wasn't really expecting any sort of overlap just from looking at these two in the pans, but I will admit those first three shades are pretty darn similar. That's about it though. Lastly, for my comparisons today is the Brown Sugar palette. This one does have a little vibe of having a pop of green, but I think when you see them laid out side by side here, those quote unquote green shades in the Brown Sugar palette are still pretty brown, pretty neutral, and I think these two palettes would work really well together, but I don't think there's a whole ton of actual overlap shade-wise. After all of those comparisons, I have to say, I think that this is a pretty unique palette for ColourPop. It's not that they've never done green before, they just haven't done it in this way. The two main green palettes that they have, the Mint to Be palette, which is a lot more pastel, a lot more blue toned, whereas this is really murky. And then they have the Just My Luck palette, which has a bigger variety of greens and is probably more similar to this color selection overall, just in the variety of shades. But those two green palettes aren't super similar to this one. And then the other greens, it's been sort of an opposite, whereas this is a more green palette with a couple pops of neutral. They typically do a really neutral palette with a pop of green. So this is something pretty different color scheme wise for ColourPop, and I'm really happy to see that. I was really nervous when this little box showed up on my doorstep. I thought, oh no, it's gonna be a really neutral palette with one green. People are not gonna be having it. I could hear the echoes of the comments, nudie pop, over and over again. The Star Wars fans are gonna be up in arms, and honestly, I really do think they did justice, at least to this little Baby Yoda, the child color scheme. I think the cover art's really cute. The colors make sense. There's something different, still approachable though. I'm glad to see that this is an overwhelmingly green palette. I'm still glad there are these little pops of neutral in here to help out, you know, people like me that get intimidated by all green. I don't know if you fit into that category, but I definitely do. By far my favorite color in this palette is this one called The Force. It reminds me of a Super Shock shadow that they had called Telepathy. Even as somebody who's not a huge green fan, not a huge Star Wars fan, I really appreciate this palette. I think that the design is really cute. The color selection seems to fit the theme. It's something different for them. There's no eye safety warnings. There's no glitters. I really think that they did a great job designing this palette, from the shades to the packaging. I just really, really hope that they are prepared for a launch this size. This is as popular as I anticipate it will be. I genuinely hope that they are ready to restock. I hope they're ready to release elsewhere, whether it's via Ulta or Disney, because I feel like people are going to be going crazy for this. And I don't work at ColourPop, so I can't tell it. I don't know. I'm not in charge of it. I just hope you can get it if you want it. Now's the time when I want to hear what you think about this palette. Are you interested in this? Are you a Star Wars fan? If you are a Star Wars fan, do you think that they did a good job curating this collection of colors. I always love to hear what you guys think about things too. Even if we don't agree on stuff, that's okay. I think it's okay anyway, and I hope that you do too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. So cute. So cute. This of if none of that made sense. Star Wars or the Star Wars. Nailed it. What? Did that make sense? I almost said Brushwatch. Brushwatch. Okay, I'm done. Guys, I still don't like green eyeshadow on me. I love the way it looks on other people. I don't know why. I just don't like it for me. I mean, it looks okay. It's just not my first choice. I don't know. I was out. Oh, why? Okay, we don't have time for this. Hopefully my lack of Star Wars knowledge was not offensive, but I feel like I just try to focus on the makeup. Stick with what you know. Why do I not like green eyeshadow? I mean, objectively it looks fine, and when I've worn it in videos, people tell me that it looks good or that it's like flattering with my eye color, but it's just not my jam. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Okay, have a great day. Okay, have a great day. Bye.